So welcome back everyone for our end of month community call. It's been a while. Glad to be back. We have a stacked stage tonight and a lot to share. So I'm excited. Glad to be back. So yeah, how's everyone feeling on stage?
Let's go.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's good to do another one of these again. Like I know we've been trying to mix it up a bit with things like poker nights and not being like 110% just serious stuff. But yeah, it's good to like connect this way again.
Yeah, good to be back. Okay, well, yeah, like I said, we have a lot of updates. I think we can just go right ahead, jump into some updates here at New Order. Yeah, maybe
So
Che
yeah,
or Mary.
I'll kick it off. So one of the most recent kind of developments was that we allocated, I would say, like a fairly big chunk of our treasury to market make on GMX, so deposit in the GLP. And in order for us to ensure that we are properly hedged and not exposed to the market, to make sure that this indeed is a delta neutral strategy, we then deposited I would say ample funding to Quenta, which is essentially synthetics, right, to hedge the position. So we still have a short position on ETH and Bitcoin that is relative to the exposure in the GLP. And right now it's looking like a over 20% pure yield in ETH, which is delta neutral. The only downside that we are exposed is for the funding rate on the short position to skyrocket, which it hasn't currently, and historically it's quite minuscule on the short side, considering the whole market is usually in a perma bull cycle where everybody's taking long positions. And if the traders on the GMX side of things, where we are essentially the counterparty to, if they do consistently win, then obviously we are on the losing side and we are distributing the profits to them. But yet again, kind of historically, they over the past like 8 months, they have always been negative. And it's funny how there's all the memes rolling around where you just look at the GMX funding rate and what direction it's swaying, and you just have the opposite trade, and the chances are you'll win. So that's kind of our approach now, and it's been going fairly well. I'm monitoring it every day and planning to rebalance every week, considering the changes in the GLP. So yeah, that is the treasury strat. Then I'll shed some light on some of the internal incubation stuff that we're doing. Just like on the very high level, we're venturing in the space of options. And as you guys have noticed, first of all, with Y2K launching soon, but we'll talk about that shortly. We are very heavily interested in the Arbitrum ecosystem and the developments there. We do believe that this is the optimal layer 2 solution to Ethereum scaling, and the community there is great. And there's a lot of opportunities there, especially with Nitro coming out soon. And we just do see that direction as a very sound direction for us to take in terms of some of the ecosystem projects that are missing on Arbitrum. We want to fill that gap. So we're working towards that. Not to spill the beans too much, we'll be working on an options platform that will be introduced later, I would say in the next couple of months, that is on Arbitrum. We're also looking at some derivative structure products. There's a couple of them in Solana for your guys' reference, but we are looking at creating a ecosystem of derivatives products that are inherently retail facing, right? Where we do see a gap in the market where that is currently non-existent. I would say underexplored, and specifically on Arbitrum and the layer 2s in general. I would say ETH mainnet as well, right? I think initially that was the gas fees were prohibitive, so people didn't want to take the risks in indulging in mainnet, right? Mainnet liquidity, and we're taking the risks of going elsewhere, even if the liquidity is lower, just to make sure that they are the business model and the fee systems are functioning as planned, considering the spikes in gas prices. We do foresee, the gas not changing, right? Currently it is low, right? But how the market goes, right? That's not something we can plan for. So if it is even an externality, a potential externality that is unlikely, gas being prohibitive, we would like to avoid that. So that's why we're looking to these layer 2 scaling solutions, and in the future, we'll be looking at alternative layer 1s as well. So that is on the option side and the derivative side. Also, we are working on a DAO tooling platform. There's kind of a lot to unpack there, but will be shared soon. I would say on a high level, it is I would say a very good solution to the market, to the current kind of market dynamics, with a lot of these DAOs not being able to efficiently and effectively manage their operations and their treasuries and their community, and to bunch that all into a single solution would be very beneficial for the market. And there's a lot of attempts, but we do believe that those attempts are just not enough to satiate that cap in the market. So we are heads deep working on that as well. Kind of likewise, more and more information will be released in due time once we are ready with a more, I would say, cooked product for you guys to think about. But I'm sure Merrick has some comments or adds to contribute. Yeah. We'll take it off to him.
Yeah, I think Che actually covered that super well. The only thing I would maybe add to that, right, is that there's a few contenders in these DAO sort of tooling platforms. I think that I've been sort of carefully observing sort of what this team is building, and I think what sets this particular project apart is that we've got people aboard that are sort of advising the project and shaping the project that have been sort of professionally running DAOs for a good while now, right? And so I think that I don't want to spill it's not for me to spill the beans for this team and project, right? But I think some of the features that they're going to be building in are really going to entice, let's say, right, an interest, sort of more professional DAO operators. So yeah, eager to see more about that, and eager to share more when the time is right.
Yeah, and also kind of adding on that, right? I think we have quite substantially scaled up our incubation endeavors, where we were initially looking at only several projects being concurrently incubated, but we were able to internally, I would say, operationalize a lot of the flows that are within the incubation stream, and scale up the program to have 6 to 7 projects done at the same time. So we were able to create that kind of workstream ecosystem where each team member has a designated role in the incubation period, right? Where we're able to be a lot more efficient in the engagements. So as our, I would say, end of year goal is to reach that threshold of incubating 10 or 8 to 10 projects concurrently and be able to do that successfully and consistently. That is our North Star that we are looking to achieve, and something we're confident that we will be able to embark on. That would be, I would say, most of the new order updates per se, without extra alpha leakage. So I'll pass it back to Consenso.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm super happy to be back. I think, yeah, this is really great doing these, once a month. It builds up a lot of stuff, and it's almost too much to hear live. So the recording is going to be amazing. I think we'll go to venture now, the venture side of things. And I would turn the mic over to Amber.
Thank you, Contento. I'm really excited to hear about our incubation pipeline. And we have a lot of exciting things to launch by the end of this year. Yeah, so I'll give you an update on DeFi Basecamp on the first cohort, then we're going to the new cohort. So essentially, all the 6 teams made great progress during the program and graduated last month. So I want to give you some highlights and identify, if you remember, that's a KYC and compliance wrap token for financial institutions to participate in DeFi directly and permissionlessly. So they finalized their MVP and recently closed their seed round. End up raising an oversubscribed round, intend to raise $2 million, close at just over $3 million. And one of the founders, Casper, he was in Toronto last month for East Toronto Hackathon. So we finally got to meet in person, after working together for several months. So right now we are, helping them get connected with different security auditors. They're also in talk with Klima. There's a, explore possibility for POC to bootstrap their first liquidity pool. Another company, Pima, previously it's called Diversified. They have also successfully closed their seed round 2 because they're creating this layer 0 that solves the cross-chain liquidity problem, and they're creating mirror pools on different layer 1s. So during the program, we spent a lot of time talking about how to optimize the liquidity provision, help them reach developer groups who can potentially build applications on top of Pima layer 0. So right now we're still giving them a lot of post-graduation support, connect them with a number of layer 1s, essentially help them to find their first step of product market fit. So that's some highlights for the first cohort. And since the end of July, we've been busy doing all the marketing activities, outreach to source teams, done a bunch of info sessions about Basecamp program overview, AMA. You can find them on Twitter and NuOrder YouTube channel. So the response has been really good. We still have 5 days left in the application cycle and potentially extending. So far we have received 130 applications, which is a lower number than the last cohort. But of course, I think the market condition is affected too. What we noticed this time around is that the quality of projects, they're much higher. Very few of them are not actual DeFi startups. So the theory is here that the market is actually weeding out the noises, and that actually reflected in our application pipeline. And we also update our Basecamp thesis to be more focused, more long-term, value-driven. We're still DeFi first, but looking more into the lower layer of tech stack, the projects they're building to improve the DeFi infrastructure, better tooling for project makers, better cross-chain interoperability, things like that. And on the application side, we'll focus on the market neutral DeFi, more sustainable DeFi. Like we want founders to really think about how to driving up the long-term token value with revenue and cash flow, and improve the risk management, etc. So that's the change we made to the thesis. We got some really interesting applications already. I wish I can share more, but we're still getting to know the founders. And so some interesting ones are aggregate liquidity provision to NFT lending platforms, NFT utility use cases, market neutral votes, treasury management for DAOs, for example. So I'll share more when there's something more substantial to share. So if you're a DeFi founder or know someone who can benefit from DeFi Basecamp, please share the application website, book a meeting with me. I'm always happy to talk. I think that's all the updates from my side. I'm passing the content too.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks, Amber. Okay, so I think we can quickly move on to some of the incubated projects. So let's go to Redacted. Who would want to speak on that, Che or Sammy?
I can do that. Yeah, busy week for one of the first projects that came to the incubator. There was a big change recently with the V2 tokenomics that just went out. Moving away from the V-based mechanism to more of the VE tokenomics. Similar to like the convex lock style, there's a claim every 2 weeks where you can get part of the revenues paid in ETH from some of the products that we've put out, Hidden Hand, Pyrex, etc. And the Epoch one just went live. Users can claim around $6.60 for every one butterfly locked, which is pretty good returns over like 20% APY. One thing that we talk about in NuOrder is sort of like the returns from the treasury tokens coming back to the holders. So now with the I think we've talked about it enough, right? But there's sort of this like long delay with like Invest, NuOrder Vest, Olympus Vest, Investor Vest for like the butterfly tokens. But now that the the tokenomics have been changed. The vest is kicking off again, so obviously the butterfly is going to be coming into the treasury, and like like the Y2K rewards, like the H2O rewards, butterfly rewards, like that'll be going out to the VE lockers. So that's pretty cool. That's about it on redacted side.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys are super busy. Redacted's been working really hard. Okay, so I think we could probably move over to H2O. And seeing as Sebastian will join us on the next community call, but I think Mayor can probably take this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been working closely with those guys, and they've been up to a lot lately. Yeah, so like Sammy said, big week, I would say, for both. Or big week for H2O as well, or like maybe a big couple last weeks for H2O. H2O, I think accomplished several of its sort of original, initial goals, initial milestones. H2O went multi-chain earlier this year. More recently, H2O became usable as a base token on the Ocean market. So it's available for use to buy and sell data sets, which is awesome. One, I would say, kind of major development in, I would say, like the data, data as an asset class, DeFi type ecosystem, is that Ocean decided to switch to a VE model, and sort of like looking at this and looking at other opportunities in the in the DeFi space. H2O, sort of like the team at H2O, proposed sort of like a V2 roadmap that is still at the end of that roadmap, has accomplished that original goal, the original vision of backing a stable asset using data itself. But in like the medium term, in the short to medium term, it's actually really exciting to tap into the sort of like the real yield movement and the liquid staking sort of movement that's happening to like a lot of protocols. So what H2O is going to do is it's going to start introducing liquid staking tokens that represent or rather, maybe let me phrase it a different way, that are representative of the activity in the data, sort of like the data vertical of Web3 and blockchain, right? DeFi, this stuff. And so, it's going to start by introducing a PSDN, so for those of you that have been following H2O, right, know that there's the stable asset, and there's also the governance token, PSDN, and PSDN is going to take on sort of a new role, almost like a convex, right, for for these different protocols, right, that are building the data economy. And so the idea is that the first token we're going to introduce, or the first product we're going to introduce, is going to be PSDN Ocean, which is a liquid staking wrapper for VE Ocean, right? And so it's going to be much like Convex is for Curve. And that's, I would say, that's like only the first sort of step, right? H2O is working with a lot of different players in the DeFi space. And there's going to be some exciting partnerships coming up too. Yeah, stay tuned for new developments with H2O. I believe they have like a more detailed roadmap, including like milestones and dates and things like that. That's going to drop in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that.
I'm also gonna drop the thread that H2O wrote on like the changes they're making into the general chat for anyone who missed it for the V2 roadmap. I'll put it in CC questions.
Thanks, Sammy.
Good. I gotta check that out. That sounds crazy. New Order's cooking up some heat. Cooked up some heat, I guess. Okay, so I think we can go on to frogs. I'll pass the mic over to Chris.
I had to press Control D. Okay, so see a lot of people I recognize in here, but I think there's also some faces. So just fresher. Some of you know, but Fox's new orders external research hub and produce public-facing content in a variety of different formats. The concept was originally to decentralize crypto research, but by producing research that was accessible to the average DeFi user, but also by creating an outlet that was accessible to the average researchers. I think one of the powerful things about crypto is how meritocratic it is. That's what brought a lot of people there in the first place. The fact that intelligent and capable people can move their way and contribute meaningfully with their right degrees of connections. That's kind of the ethos that used to be the box that kind of be.
Chris,
Yeah.
your internet's kind of choppy. I don't think we can make out like much of what you're saying.
Let me. Yeah, I can move closer to the router.
Maybe also try switching mics if you can. I'm not sure if this is a mic or an internet issue. I've been on enough video calls to like get a taste for these weird artifacts.
Do you want to bump to somebody else, and I'll see if I can take care of it while somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we can move on to Y2K Finance, and then we'll circle back to Frogs. I'll pass it over to Cripwalk or Che.
Yeah. All right. I'm assuming that's a yes, right? Okay. So with Y2K, as you guys might have seen from our comms and Twitter, it is a peg marketplace per se. Of like essentially, it gives the user the ability to take either side of a stable coin or a pegged asset in terms of what are the chances of that particular asset deviating from its particular peg. So that unlocks like a novel derivatives market, which we are very eager to release, especially on Arbitrum, considering that is an ecosystem that is currently just kind of ripping everything apart. In introducing yet again a novel marketplace that isn't available on mainnet or on Arbitrum, it is great to do that first on Arbitrum and then kind of continue our pathway to mainnet, considering the use cases and the partnerships on Arbitrum are very nice at the current point in time. With I would say a lot of the protocols are also heating up. They're eager to collaborate, so it's just a very good time to be around the Arbitrum ecosystem, and we're glad to kind of catch that wave up. We are looking at launching in I would say within the next 3 weeks, maximum a month. Just finalizing our kind of final steps to market, figuring out the best ways for us to essentially go live, right? I think the final steps are the most important steps. So we want to make sure that we take as much caution as possible, because as you guys know, that you only launch once, and you can't never have that back, right? So if you botch it, you botch it. There's nothing you can do with that. As some of you guys have seen from Optimism, right? The airdrop and how that really deviated from their steam, right? And maybe even took that steam away to Arbitrum, right? So we would really not want to have that happen. So we're very meticulous in our approach to the launch period. So the expectation is still indeed within a month, but you will hear a lot more from us in the coming days. I think the team over there is ramping up their marketing efforts and comms, so a lot more information will be released in the coming days. So yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Content. So that's most of it. Of course, if you guys want to learn more, they have their own Twitter, they have their own Discord. So I'll just drop it in the chat for you guys if you want to check it out. If you haven't really seen too much before, but you also want to mention something.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that I'm gonna drop the link for the Medium article for everyone on the call today. If you guys want to go in and dive a little bit deeper on the core products, the main product, being Earthquake, what Shay went over. There's also a couple other products that coming out that ties back into Earthquake, so it really creates like a full circle, like flywheel effect. Very interesting products, very novel products, and something that we see as something that will slate itself as a core building block in the DeFi ecosystem. And then also, with what Jay mentioned with like the Arbitrum support, we do have like full support from the Off-Chain Labs team, and be on the lookout for some AMAs that we'll be co-hosting with Arbitrum with the Y2K team. Yep, just wanted to add a little bit of color there. So I'll turn it back over to Che if you have anything more that you want to touch on, or back to Continue to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think that was great. Okay, so I guess we'll circle back to frogs now.
Testing. You guys say okay? Is that any better?
Maybe very marginally better. Why don't you give it a try and we'll stop you if we can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, say something if you just can't understand. I switched mics. I'm not going to go through the whole preamble again. I'll just say that Frogs is doing facing research, and I'll tell you what we've been up to doing for planning. So it's been about 3 months, and we're working on our 26th research article right now. We have about 20 people on the team and contributors. We've had about 6,000 unique visitors on the website, and we're building an organic and engaged following on social media. We're not paying for likes or engaging in artificial growth hacking. I think, sometimes you look at other content brands and you can see somebody might have 100,000 followers on Twitter, but 2 or 3 likes on every post, and you start to ask questions. So I think if you look at what's going on with Frogs, you can see that certain posts we make, 10% of all of our followers are liking it. So I think the newsletter tells the same story. We have open rates in the neighborhood of 25%. People who follow Frogs are very committed to the brand and they really enjoy the work. So we're building off of that foundation and continuing to experience strong growth. Our Twitter following is up 15% week over week, every week for the past month. So based on that, the design for Frogs at the beginning was to produce content and then provide a revenue stream for new order through ad sales. That's a very viable business model when you're in the middle of a bull run. But Frogs launched in April of 2022. Some of you may remember that a man named Do Kwon had very different plans for the market. So ad sales dried up back then, and we had to pivot to an alternative revenue stream. So back then, we started to pivot in the direction of what we've been calling ostensibly Frogs Pro, and we're dividing the content up into 2 separate channels. One with more formal research content, and one with the type of retail-facing content that you've been seeing for the past couple of months. The primary output of Frogs Pro is taking the form of quarterly reports that we'll be writing, and we're working on selling annual packages to larger protocols. Now, I'm not going to publicly announce who we're talking with, but I'll say that we're targeting some of the bigger projects out there, and we're currently writing a quarterly report for some of the top 10 highest revenue projects in decentralized finance. On the retail-facing side, we started producing sponsored content about 2 weeks ago with a piece on LandX. They were great to work with, so check out their report if you got some time. I've been doing BD and reaching out to additional projects, so I think we can expect to see more sponsorships and revenue coming in from the retail-facing content. And finally, we're pursuing monetization on the retail side by actively producing content about projects with outstanding brand programs. So we're going to keep doing the type of work that we've been doing for grants. So I think you can expect to see the volume and the quality of content that Frogs has been putting out. And I think the biggest change is that you're going to see more and more revenue coming in from the work we've been doing. So around the end of the quarter, I think we'll have a bunch of announcements on that front. I think it'll be exciting. It's been exciting to do the work we've been doing. Thanks to everybody in the audience who's a contributor to other readings.
Okay, yeah, Chris, I think we caught the first 85% of that. The last bit, I think your Wi-Fi was cutting out again. I think we got the gist of it. Like Frogs,
Yeah.
doing great things. I mean, 15%, growth in a week, in a bear market, right? Which I think today, if maybe don't look at the charts, but if you do, right, it's still a bear market clearly. So.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much all the updates we have. If anyone has any questions, maybe we will wait a couple minutes. If anyone wants to come up on stage and ask a question live, feel free, just raise your hand. And yeah. Okay, we got one. Feel free to come up, 50.
Hey, yeah, so I was just, I thought that a couple of the kind of things that you mentioned were really interesting. I was just wondering how I could possibly get more involved with the DAO. Like, is the kind of onboarding ramps, etc.
Yeah, so right now we use our, hold on, blanking right now. So right now we use our New Order Academy, and I'm actually in the process of getting back to, I think we have about 9 applicants there right now. And yeah, so if you've applied, I don't know if I've seen you there, but yeah, I'm definitely going to circle back with you. I'll drop the Notion page to you right now. And yeah, we can continue that conversation.
If I could add to what Content is saying, like this is something that we haven't really mentioned yet, but I mean, it's just as well you brought it up. We have been sort of like I would say prototyping and testing some content on like a very sort of small group, content that is going to let us run an online boot camp in the future, right? For like prospective, mostly I would say focused for prospective like project founders and in some cases builders and stuff like that. But I mean, it's going to be open to like the whole community, right? So I think that would be kind of like a great way to get involved, in many ways, right? Whether it's going to lead down a path where people are going to launch projects or contribute or whatever. I think it would be a good way to probably get involved in something that's more serious than poker, right? It's definitely involves our core mission in this DAO, which is to incubate and build. So like maybe if that's maybe the last, I don't know if it'll be the last bit of alpha that we drop on this call, but certainly we've had that in the works for a while. It just it just hasn't been ready yet, and so we haven't really been talking about it. But I think it's like almost ready. So stay tuned. We're gonna run that. We're gonna run like a cohort in this boot camp. We're gonna run at least one boot camp before the end of the year, and it'll be online. Like this. I'm just gonna ramble a bit here. I've got the mic, but we've been running right now and we've been trying like a mixed reality model where we've got people like physically present and we've got people joining on Discord. And I think that when we do this, like when we do the real one, right, this is sort of like almost like a pilot or a test, or like we're sort of dog fooding it in a way. When we run it, I think it's just going to be on online, right, on our Discord, so it'll be open to pretty much everyone, certainly our community. So yeah, we'll announce more about that probably in the coming weeks. Great question, thanks.
Thanks, Merrick. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions right now. So feel free to like keep dropping your questions in CC questions, and yeah, I'm sure the team's going to be around in the Discord to answer async. So thanks everyone for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
So
Bye.